Hello and welcome to Holy Crap, the Phonecast, a call-in show dedicated to speaking with atheist curious communities about any topic they'd like in order to get an atheist perspective. HCPC is a spin-off of Holy Crap, the Vlogcast, and records live on YouTube Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern U.S. time. Today's episode was recorded on Tuesday, the 23rd of June. I am your host, I'm known as Shujin Tribble, and you can call into the show at 859-HCTV-554. That is 859-4288-554. For today's overall theme, I will be talking about, truth be told, I really don't have any clue what I'm going to be talking about just yet. I am just test firing to see how everything works tonight, and it's one of those moments where, I've got this great idea, and I want to kind of bring back something that is, I think, in some kind of ways lacking in shows for today. There was a show that got me started down the pathway to what I'm doing now, which is doing various podcasts. Well, one in particular. This isn't quite going to be a podcast. This is going to be a radio show. And, of course, thanks to the nice folks out over there at, KTQA for having us on. One of the shows that I got listening to originally was something called Atheists on Air. And it was a talk show, call-in show, specifically run by a gentleman who really inspired me to kind of really get going with what it was that I was doing, which was talking, really, which is all what a podcast is. And I know full well there are a whole bunch of people who absolutely hate public speaking. Me, I love it. There's a certain amount of vanity that goes along with it. I've been doing online DJing for over a decade now, so I've got a little bit of talking under my belt. I kind of know what it is that I'm doing. So the purpose of the show is, like I said, to have folks who are atheist curious kind of call in a non-threatening environment to ask and see maybe not necessarily what every atheist thinks, but to try to find out what at least one does in a way that is non-confrontational, that is above board, and hopefully will be a way for everyone to learn a little something about each other. That's one of my highest hopes. Education is something that I find very, very important, especially early education. Learning how to think, not necessarily learning what to think. It's not an easy thing. And for a lot of us that grew up through religion in one form or other, we've tried to understand ourselves, tried to understand who it is that we are, what people think that we should be, and kind of work it from there. It's not always easy, but we try. We try. I am someone who grew up in a Roman Catholic family, Italian. Well, Italian-American. I know, I'm probably just splitting hairs just a little bit, but, be that as it may. My family, or the majority of my family, immigrated to the United States roughly turn of the century, 19th to 20th century, thereabouts. So most of my family is Italians. My mother and father were both born here in the States, in Brooklyn, and that's where I was born. I was raised, however, outside of Brooklyn, Long Island. So I have an experience of growing up in an area that was effectively the suburbs of New York and on the ocean, if not necessarily directly on it. I was never very far away from it, and I actually grew up, and I didn't really know it at the time, only a couple of miles away from where Captain Kangaroo once lived. And it turns out he's now buried less than a tenth of a mile away from where I lived. So, it makes it kind of interesting. I now live well inland, outside of Buffalo, New York, and one of the biggest things that I miss, believe it or not, is the salt air smell. That's a little piece of home for me. You can say all that you want about the cuisine. You can go ahead and complain all you want about pizza not being the same, or bagels not being the same, and not being able to get a breakfast sandwich at the Oak Beach Inn. There's only a handful of people that would get that reference now. But for me, it was always the smell. So, once upon a time when I was doing delivery driving, I was able to do deliveries, and occasionally I would end up doing deliveries at the same time as the guys delivering all of the seafood. And when I would see their big box van come up, I'd come on over and just lean over and just, hey, hold on a second. What? What are you doing? Oh man, I grew up near the ocean. This is home to me. Really? What can I tell you? That was weird. Come to think of it, I think I still am. Be that as it may. So for me, like I said, I grew up in an Italian American household. I was born in '69. I grew up through the '70s and the '80s. A lot of things about the news that I didn't exactly pay attention to. And, that's okay. Only in so much as that, there's certain things that I did learn, a lot of things I didn't, a lot of things I was really ignorant of and heard bits and pieces of that didn't quite seem to make sense. But there are a number of things that I do still remember. A couple of those things were the ideas of not being prejudiced. In the '70s, there were a number of public service announcements that came on TV. There were a number of them that I remember. One of them, a lot of folks would still remember to this day, even though they probably haven't seen it on actual TV, sadly. And that was the Crying Indian, Keep America Beautiful. And it was a powerful statement. Very, very strong. And I've always believed that that was a very good idea. Take a little pride in where you live. Don't throw garbage out on the side of the road because it's somebody else's job to clean it up now. Big deal. You take care of yourself. You take care of where you live. Because that's really what it's supposed to be about, isn't it? There was another one about, like I said, not being prejudiced. Not to think of someone as your Jewish friend or your black friend. It was the '70s. Or your Asian friend. It was your friend. And anything after that was kind of immaterial. These days, I know full well that there are a lot of nuances that can kind of go along with all that. For instance, it is okay to recognize that you have got a friend who has a different ethnicity, a different backdrop, a different home life than what you've got. And that's great because it gives you an opportunity, like I said earlier, to learn. Learning about different people is one of those things that helps us to try to grow from who we are, to try to become better at what we can accomplish. Growing is constantly a state of learning new things, and one of those things is learning about other people's story. There is a story that goes from ancient Greece that I have kind of it's kind of helped me grow up to be who I am and how I approach things. And it's from ancient Greek mythology, and it's about now see, this is what happens. I've completely blanked on their names, but I've always referred to them as the three crones. Now, I think I might have that name a little incorrect. They were the ones who handled life. The youngest was the one who took the strands of life and made them into threads. And again, it's mythology, remember, just follow me a minute. The middle one, who took those threads and wove them on a giant loom, interlacing all of the different life threads. And then finally the old crone, who at the end of each thread cut the life. And for me, I've always known it's mythology. It's just a story. But for me, I've kind of taken it to heart so that I can look at people, individuals or groups, and I can look at everyone and think we are all threads in the same tapestry. We have no way of seeing what that tapestry is supposed to look like. We have no idea what our function actually is. And we have no idea how long it is that we're going to be needed in that tapestry. But we are important enough that we help support all the other threads, all the other people, and they support us. Sometimes we interact in acrimonious ways. There are times where we interact and we spend our lives together. But at the very least, we get to be with each other. And for me, that is a piece that I've taken for a very, very long time, to try to understand, to, some might say, not take it all so hard. Maybe just to be able to think through and work with. Any case. So, while I'm here, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to let anybody who wants to call, feel free, you can give a call and try and test this stuff out. The phone number, of course, as always, is 859-HCTV-554. It's 859-4288-554. If you're in the UK, let's see, it's 859-4288-554. How you guys do that, I don't get. Weird. Sorry, I don't have a toll-free number. It's kind of just the way that it works. Which means that you'll have to actually call directly and work it from there. I've got a number of things that have happened recently. As a matter of fact, earlier today. Just a little bit before I came on the show. There was a discussion happening on Facebook, rather unfortunately so that it was, and someone went ahead and said that they could vouch for somebody else in the comment thread that they were not racist. I asked a simple question. How? You say that you can vouch for a person that they're not being racist. I'm willing to take your at your word, so how? They did not particularly care for that question. And for them it was, well, they haven't mentioned anything racist so far in all the comments that they've made here. Yeah, that's not a great way of trying to figure out how somebody's character at large is. There's got to be something better than that. I mean, come on, you've got to have something better than that, don't you? Well, no, they really didn't. And I pointed this out and told them, look, if you think that this is the way that you can prove somebody is not racist, I don't think so. So, you don't know what you're talking about. They went ahead and said, just shortly before I came on, that they were smart enough to know how to figure out what it is that they do know, what they don't know, because I made a reference to them. You know, they can have fun spending the rest of their time with Dunning-Kruger. And that they could use their logical skills to find out that they could go ahead and have fun digging up my wife As a notice to everybody, my wife has been dead for 15 years, so and the best thing that I could tell him is that, and yet the capital I apostrophe in I'm completely escapes you. How very telling. So, what can I tell you? I may be a nice guy, but I'm not always a nice guy. At the very least, if somebody wants to go ahead and, try to pull a fast one like that, no, I'm not going to get mad. I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to scream. I'm certainly not going to troll them back in a way that would be wrong. Or should I say false? But if somebody wants to go ahead and say, I want to go ahead and just angry type and not even use the shift key and not use an apostrophe for the word I'm, well, nice try. Any case, so as far as you're trying to figure out how to do a show like this, and what is it that you want to accomplish when you start a show, go on the air, it's not easy to try to figure out what to talk about, what to talk through. And knowing full well that a lot of time you're basically talking to the ether and basically talking to yourself. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do. It sure as hell is not conducive to, witty repartee. But for those who are in a studio, especially doing podcasts, especially those that do it, just all on their own, yeah, it's not the easiest thing in the world. Try to talk to yourself for half an hour and see where that gets you. And let me tell you, it's not the easiest thing in the world, especially if you're trying to continue with a cohesive thought. But we will see how that plays out. Pardon me. So the show does record directly to YouTube, and I will be making sure that I'm going to need a little bit of time to tweak and make sure that everything works just the way that it's supposed to. I got a pretty good idea as to how I'm going to make that work. The music, of course, is going to be a little bit tricky. Here's a little bit of a behind the scenes kind of thing. What I'm going to have to do is to create a file, a music file that is literally exactly the length of the show. And then I'm gonna have to play an hour-long file that has got the song intro to start it off with, and then the outro, so that I've got that to go off of, and I'll know, how long I've got for the show to work with. It'll work out fine that way. I'm pretty sure it's going to work out fine that way. So, for anybody that is thinking that they can't get on the show because they can't be here while we're live, we do have voicemail on that line also. So if you decide that you want to leave a message, come up with something that you'd like to throw out at us, feel free. Just remember, this is eventually going out on FM radio. If you say something wrong, I'm going to bleep you. Or shazbot you, or whatever it is that I decide I'm going to do at that point. I haven't quite figured it out yet. I don't know. Figure from there. Anyhow. So, being that dead air does not go over very well for a lot of folks, and I can't imagine why, how about we figure something that I can talk to you about, which is the past experience that I've had for running a podcast. The show that I've spun this show off of, which is Holy Crap, the Vlogcast, is a 2-hour podcast. It's supposed to be 2 hours. We run a little bit long a lot of times. In order to do a deep dive on questions, to try to figure out why is it even something that's worth talking about. Not necessarily figure out what the answers are to whatever the question is, but to kind of examine the ground around it. Do a deep dive on a couple of tangentially related topics and subjects, and hopefully come out of it all with a better understanding as to what is the question, where did it come from, and what are the ramifications of where you want to go with it. It's not an easy thing to do. I mean, there are nights where we end up going down rabbit holes that never would have thought about, and there's a running gag that we have more tangents than high school trigonometry, which is not false exactly, but it's weird to think about it that way. "30 minutes to go, which means I've gotten 20 minutes under my belt. Doing pretty good. So, Holy Crap, the Vlogcast has been around for several years now. And, like I said, we were started because of Atheists on Air. And I owe pretty much everything to that show, as far as to getting started and continuing. I was told after the first year that, if there's only one person that you end up helping, is it going to be worth doing? Would you do it? And I had to say yes, it would be worth it. And I was told, then what the hell is stopping you? Okay. So, we work it and we see how it works out. And it should be kind of interesting. Oh, how interesting. I'm sorry. I'm looking at the video recording, and I'm trying to figure out how am I going to get my video to show correctly on screen. Yay. Sorry. Too many different things, technically speaking, that I didn't get the chance to really go through just yet. And is this one going to show up on the air? Probably not. No, I'm going to have to dissect this and try to figure out what it is that's going on. See what's going on. So I had somebody that was watching. Be this as it may. It's all good. And the stream is still doing exactly the way it's supposed to, and I'm recording all at the same time, so good on me. It's all working the way it's supposed to. Like that. Anyway. It does show my mouse over there. Okay. Gives you something to play with. Figure from there. Anyway. So if anybody would like to give a call, the phone number is always going to be open. 859-HCTV-554, 859-4288-554. And we can work it from there. Now the fun part is, how do I... Sorry. How do I encourage folks to give a call while I'm in the middle of trying this show out? Well, let me see if I may be able to encourage somebody to give a call. It's going to be one of those moments. See what happens if I put out a word over on the Discord side that I could use a little phone call from somebody. Maybe, just to see how this works. And... good. Okay, so that part is working correctly. Sorry, the live chat over on YouTube. I wasn't sure if it was working because I'm getting a disconnected, reconnected. So now that I know that that's working correctly, I feel better for myself. It's good. It's all good. So as far as to what more I can talk about briefly, I think one of the things I can describe and talk about real briefly is what I want to do. With this show, what is it that I want to do? Oh, that's interesting. Who are we getting a call from? Do not know, but let's see. Hello, caller. I have someone there.
Yes, you do.
And you are coming through. Hello, Dallin.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing all right. It actually
Yeah.
does sound like a right proper phone call.
Okay, that can be good or bad depending on how you look at things.
Well, as opposed to, a traditional VoIP call where it sounds so much more like a VoIP call.
Yeah, that's true. Um, yeah, I just thought I'd give a call and see if the number worked and if you were able to actually capture the conversation.
Yeah,
I know we talked about that earlier today.
yeah, and the funny part of it is, it's coming through. This is so weird. The audio captures are coming through in very, very weird fashions. For instance, you're not coming through on the desktop audio. You're coming through on the channel that I have set for VLC. So maybe I need to reconfigure just a little bit again.
Yeah, sounds like a bit of a routing thing, but
Nah, not a big deal.
um, yeah. Actually, I did tune in right from the start of the show just to give a listen, see what it was going to be like, and yeah, I think so far so good. It sounds good. And I hear you on the whole trying to have something to say to avoid dead air. 'Cause, I mean, like you, I've done DJing in Second Life for a few years myself on solo careers, and even just those little 5-10 minute spots in between music sets. If you don't have, if you're not good at improvising, which I'm not, I can fully understand that. I don't. Yeah, see, right now we just had dead air, so.
Yeah, but a couple of seconds worth as you're trying to, figure out what it is that you want to say next is perfectly fine. And I'm just
Yeah.
realizing that the Google Voice window that I've got up on the video, I don't
Hmm.
actually need that.
Oh, there you go.
So that's one less thing that, well, considering where you're coming through, I think I can just entirely ditch that part. So just to be safe, let's see it go away. Remove Google Voice, yes. And I still have your audio.
Okay, perfect.
That works out.
Yeah, just kind of watching the screen here to see. Oh, there it goes. So there is a bit of a delay between, when I hear you say that and then when it actually happens.
Yep, which is not too different than, well, actually, it's the exact same settings as for HCTV. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, but no, this seems to be, well, the fact that you're able to capture the audio properly, that's a good thing. So, hey, test successful. There we go.
well, I get to see what happens in a little bit after I finish the recording, and if it actually does what it's supposed to do on the tin and give me multiple tracks. I'm not quite sure how that's going to work just yet.
Yeah.
I'll figure it.
Yeah. So, moving forward with this, do you
Oh,
think
that's
like with
right. You
each
know what?
episode?
I've completely forgotten. I should actually properly introduce you. For anybody
Yes.
that's listening at this point from Calgary, this is Dallin. He is one of the co-hosts from Holy Crap, the Vlogcast, of which HCPC, wow, I got to get used to that. HCPC is spun off from.
Yes. And as I said, I was calling mostly just to test to see if the number would work and that if he could actually capture a live, real-time phone interview with somebody on the show. And if that is successful, which is good. Let's see, if I was going to ask a question, what would I ask? Actually, for me, it would come more from a format perspective.
Sure.
Are there thoughts, like, I realize this is only episode 0, but would there be something like, maybe each week you would have a particular theme or subject, or would you go through, any sort of atheist-related news, kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly so. I kind of left it open to myself to try to figure out where I wanted to kind of stream of consciousness it for the moment, which something is telling me that was probably a bad idea. Need a little... I mean, full well that for HCTV,
yeah,
we've got the opening, and I have a topic for the opening, and I know what it is that I want to say. I just don't know how I'm going to say it yet.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, this time I kind of left it very vague. I didn't put anything for myself as far as to where I wanted to go, and that's a problem right there.
Well, I mean, to be fair, this is the first episode, so I mean, not a huge deal. But I was just kind of thinking of moving forward. Again, it's been a long time since I listened. Like, I also listened to Atheists on Air back in the day. Loved it.
Oh yeah.
But I couldn't remember, if there was like some kind of format that they had where, maybe do a couple of news segments, maybe a little bit of freestyle. I know Professor Steven had his what was it, fallacy of the day type thing. And again, not to try to say that you should be copying him, like a 1-1 copy, but just thinking in terms of a way to give the show a bit of structure is all.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and that's part of the avenue. I should really have the microphone up just a little bit higher. It is kind of the idea as to where I want to go. I do want to have an idea as to a specific topic. And as far as to pulling in news articles, I'm not quite sure how easily that's going to be able to be done. But knowing me, I'll have a couple of things that will be on my mind anyway. I mean, there is no lack of news stories the last couple of months.
Oh, yeah. But again, it just kind of depends on where you want to go with it. But.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I'm really hoping that one of the things that ends up really taking is the idea of, like I said for the intro, of having atheist curious groups just call and be able to say, well, these are the things that I think. Okay, cool. And, I don't speak for everybody, but here's how I see it. And kind of pull it together from there. And I'm really hoping that it can be one of those things where we end up having a good laugh when all is said and done, and there is education that comes out of it. How much I vamp on that so heavily.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. You just have to take a look at any tweets or posts from people, and again, coming from more of a writing background. What I'm looking for. And every time I cringe when I see, the wrong to being used or the wrong you're being used.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And somebody once criticized me once for saying, well, you really shouldn't base somebody's intelligence on their inability to spell. To which I responded, yeah, I should actually.
Yeah.
Because if you're not willing to put any thought into actually spelling something properly, then you're not giving me really the best first impression of yourself.
Yeah, and did you hear the thing I ended up dealing with over on Facebook earlier?
Honestly, I haven't checked.
That's
recently.
Right. Yeah, I had somebody that I I questioned the validity of something they said, and they got all bent out of shape because I pointed out that they didn't know what they were talking about. So they decided to have an angry type at me after saying something along the lines of, "Yeah, I can have fun by digging up your dead wife and see all the things that I can learn about you." And I'm just like, dude, really?
Wow.
Now wait, the best. I'm sorry. I should allow you.
Uh, no, all I can say at that point
No, no,
is
no, no,
just,
no. The. But wait.
oh, but wait, there's more.
Yes.
Or is it gets better?
In this case, both, because apparently, angry finger boy apparently was completely unable to multiple times to use a capital I and an apostrophe in order to convey the word "I'm" several times. And I left it out by I left it off by saying, and yet you don't know how to use capital I apostrophe for "I'm." That says everything right there now, doesn't it?
Well, my guess would be not typing from a phone, considering that's autocorrect.
Nope.
So, yeah.
Yeah. You know.
I'm so angry. I'm going to type from my keyboard. Damn it.
Yeah. So,
Oy, oy, oy.
you know, grand scheme of things is what it is, and I will deal as I always do with the style and the panache that I've grown accustomed to, which is typically referred to as snark.
Oh boy, do I pity your victims. That correspondence in the future.
Oh, please, with all the ones that I've dealt with over the years, are you kidding?
No, like I said, I feel sorry for them.
Exactly. Besides, I've had to deal with somebody who's said worse that I hold in even less regard. So
Yeah.
I believe the expression is, you want to go ahead and you want to take a dig at me at my wife and figure that that's going to hurt me some way, but yet you can't type at a 2-year-old level. But that's not.
Hmm.
But that's not. That's none of my business.
Yeah. All right. Well, I got a great data plan, but my long distance plan sucks. So
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately,
we'll
there
go.
is that.
Yeah. But hey, successful test. I wish you all the best. I will be watching
All right.
as this progresses, and if once in a while I feel the need to throw my 2 cents in, I will.
Fair enough, man. Thank you very kindly.
All right. Take care of yourself.
You too. Thank you so much.
Bye bye.
Later. Ooh. So that is exceedingly allowed. I will have to keep that in. I'll have to keep that in mind. For the time being, then I will keep VLC quiet so that we don't have to hear it if it buzzes again, or at least you guys don't. I will because that's my job. See, this is what happens when you're both audio engineer and host all at the same time. It gets a little nuts trying to keep track as to everything that's going on. Having been in an actual radio station a couple of times and a TV station, don't ask. There are a lot of things that you have to keep track of, and fortunately, I don't have to keep track of quite that many things, like the equivalent of 8-track cassette tapes to play various promo material. I don't have to do that. Fortunately, all I got to do is just hit a button and I can just bring it up. It was a college radio station. No, I was not running the station and I was not attending the school. It's a long story. Ask me about it another time. In any case, so as I was saying, you know, education is one of those things that I've harped on many, many shows over on Holy Crap the Vlogcast. It's something that has been an annoyance to me. That education has been cut There's no other real way of putting it. Funds have been cut over and over and over again, and the only ones that are really hurt by that are the upcoming generations. Now, we don't really think about it very often that teacher salaries are not great, and they really should be. What they do is an investment in the future. It is our collective investment in the future. And if you don't think that's important, sadly, I've got an entire culture of Karens that we can talk about right now. People who think that they are the most important creatures in the world because they are them, and don't really have very much consideration for anybody else around them. And that's disheartening, to put it mildly. People should have the opportunity of learning so much more, to get out and travel, more specifically, outside of the country travel. You should learn what's going on around. Be really invested in the news to understand what's happening around. And that's not the easiest thing to do. And I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit distracted because I'm realizing that my camera is getting way too much of the light over there. Excuse me a second. Sorry about that. Well, that's not going to help out at all. All right, that's fine. I'll deal with that another time. We'll figure it out later. But the investment in the future generations is something that has kind of fallen by the wayside, and I truly do not understand why that should even be the case. I've said on too damn many occasions that the United States is a culture that seems to be relatively recently built on reactionaryism. When there is a sudden emergency, impending doom, we've got all the power in the world. We've got all the money we could ever want, and we're just ready to go ahead and just invest in whatever it is that needs to be done right this second because we need to have it done right this second now. Oh, but infrastructure, that bridge that's crumbling away. Yeah, we can. We'll get to it. Yeah, we'll get to it. The sad state of teacher salaries, for one thing, is one of those things where I look at it and it's just, I wanted to be a teacher. I actually wanted to be a music teacher. Unfortunately, that didn't work for me. And seeing how things have been going for teachers, never mind, music teachers, it hurts. It hurts a lot. These are people who are trying to instill an appreciation of history, literature, science, of just learning how to grow their minds, how to question what goes on around them, how to question who they are, what they're going to do, and be able to properly question everything around them. And the funding for these groups gets smaller and smaller. And it makes no sense. It makes no sense to me. I do truly wish that there was a way of being able to explain to people, this is what you're doing. But unfortunately, so many people in my country they don't seem to care. Now, I'm not saying it's not everybody. Not by a long shot. It's not everybody. But it is a distressing number. And that's what hurts. Because it doesn't have to be that way. I'm one of those people that I don't want dumb people. I don't want stupid people. And before I get past that, I need to clarify, because, not clarify, I need to correct myself. The term that I really should be using, and the term that most of us should be using, is I don't want there to be ignorant people. And there are always going to be some people who are very upset when I use this expression. So I have to clarify. By ignorant, I mean I don't want there to be people who don't know that they don't know what's going on. Now, obviously, we can't have people, knowing that they don't know about whatever. And I'm starting to tangle myself up in this one. I'm sorry. It's okay not to know something. But I don't ever want there to be a time where somebody is shown, had it explained to them, what something is, why something operates the way that it does, and they still refuse to accept it. Willful ignorance is a sin upon education. There are people who, they want to believe whatever it is that they want to believe. And that's fine. There are certain things where people want to believe what they want to believe. I would like to believe that we will all meet again someday later in the great void. I would like to believe that. I can't. Everything that we have says that that's not a thing. I'd like to believe it. It's a nice story. Doesn't look like that's real likely. But then there are people who absolutely are convinced, and even if you can show categorically that what it is that they're believing isn't real, they still want to believe it. Now, there are certain things where, it doesn't really matter. You want to believe that some ingredient for making bread is better than another. All right, whatever. You want to believe that one brand of rice is better than another. There's a thing with that, but all right. But for people who want to believe that evolution is not a thing, that's simply unconscionable. People who just desperately do not want to believe that it's a thing, even though it can be shown absolutely categorically that it's a thing, and they just will not believe it. They absolutely refuse. They'll effectively put their fingers in their ears and la 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 la. And I don't want there ever to be people like that. But yet we've got them. I don't ever want to be that kind of person. I don't think that I could be. There are things where I've been told, you're wrong. Really? How? Okay, what did I miss? Well, you missed this, and you missed this, and you missed this, and then there was this. Oh. Wow. Okay. Sure. Let's go ahead and fix that now. And I don't follow through with stuff that has been shown to me that is wrong, because that would be dishonest. I don't want to be dishonest. I don't ever want to talk to somebody who's dishonest. If people want to believe certain things because they're comforting, that's cool. To a certain degree. My belief in the mythology of the crones, I know, I'm getting it wrong, whatever. It's not something that is supposed to be comforting to me. It's for me to help get perspective. It's just a way for me to look at things and go, okay, everybody's got a place. I need to remember that, and I need to treat everybody that everyone is interwoven to everyone else. And it helps me to be calm, to try not to be upset, to try not to be angry. So, one of the things that I want to leave off for everyone is an expression that I started a long time ago. And the expression is, you were taught wrong. It's not an easy thing to admit. Shut up. I'm going to have to find a better way of doing my timer. It's not an easy thing to understand that you've made a mistake. It sucks in a lot of ways, because it means that you need to unlearn and then relearn. It's not easy. It's a difficult thing to think about, because so many of us have been brought up to believe that because we've made a mistake, that we've done something wrong. I don't ever want that to be the case. That's what I want us to be able to do with this show. I want us all to be able to say, this is what I was taught. This is what I have come to learn. What have you got? And we'll take it from there. So with that, it's about that time that I have to go ahead and see about closing us up over here. So, if you'd like to be part of the show next week, please join us right here on YouTube, Tuesday evenings from 8 p.m. Eastern Time. HCPC extends a very large thank you to the staff at KTQA 95.3 FM Tacoma for time on their airwaves. Keep up the great work, guys. Our show's theme is Loopster by Kevin MacLeod, as used with permission from Incompetech.com. On behalf of all of us at HCTV, I wish you all the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And for my lady, 15 years on, I am still in love with you. Matane Fujin. I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. Until our next conversation, everyone, good night.